it this way. I'll tell you the ultimate diss of all time. I actually think some of the Star Wars prequels are better than these. There you go, motherfucker.
We are concluding our Denis Villeneuve arc on Foreplay today with not only one Dune movie, but a show combining part 1 and part 2 so we can have the complete discussion. Obviously, all of us have read Dune. It is among, I know, Thorin's favorite novel series, if not your very favorite novel series. So we've probably got a lot to say about this, particularly if you are also aware of the novels. As usual, now that we finish this arc, I will announce our next arc, which is going to be Paul Thomas Anderson. We're doing another director's arc back to back, and we will go with Hard 8 as the first movie, followed by Magnolia, followed by The Master, and ending with The Phantom Thread. And I know you guys are already saying, but what about There Will Be Blood? We don't just pick the most popular movies. You guys already fucking complained a million times about not having Blade Runner 2049 in the Villeneuve arc. You know, we do some big movies, but also we like to explore things you may not have seen. So for your own edification, we're not just going to do all of the most popular movies. And I think there's been enough said about There Will Be Blood. It is a great movie, guys. It's great. But we only have
the
4
irony
films.
of this is actually just a meta-contextual point about this generation, though, Monty. It's actually what I despise about modern-day fans, which is if I come into an area, so I've done it a million times, but what about like American football? I don't think I even watched it until about 15 years ago, 10 years ago or something, right? If I come into a field and I'm fresh into it and I'm getting passionate about it, if I hear someone else has been around ages, then anything they disagree with me on, I'm going to be super fascinated. Well, why though? Like, what was it about this guy that you thought was better, or what was it about that era that you like? The others, right? They want the opposite. They just want you to tell them what they think now is good is awesome. So this series, right? I am a film aficionado. So if you tell me, oh, here's a genre that you haven't looked into, I'd be like, oh, brilliant. Like, recommend me all the ones I haven't seen. Somehow, in a series, which is almost intentionally to show you, like, different films of, like, a genre or a person, there are people who only want all the films they've already seen reviewed. Like, what's the point of the series then? Isn't the point, hopefully, that at least one film in the 4 you haven't seen? So if we just do the big one, like, put it this way, we wouldn't do like a fucking George Lucas arc and just do 3 Star Wars films, would we? Like, what would the point in the arc be? We all saw them when we were 4. Like, you know, so I do think even though I appreciate that people are like, hey, what about this film? I thought this was the best one. That's an okay opinion, but like, you have to want us to give you something unusual. Like, same as we did in this one. We didn't just do all the biggest ones. Like, Sicario was one of some people probably never going to see if we didn't recommend it.
Or Prisoners, probably especially Prisoners, right?
Yeah.
Sure. And you know, also, guys, we are going to do Dune because we like the Dune world and because Dune is topical. But if you've been following along with us and you watch those other 3 movies, I think you're probably going to agree that Dune is the worst of these movies, and yet it's his most famous. And I'm not saying that's true of There Will Be Blood, but also, if you like the other Paul Thomas Anderson movies that we picked, you probably can just go watch There Will Be Blood if you haven't seen it, right? So who cares? Anyway, this isn't about There Will Be Blood.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
But there will be unpopular opinions coming. So
yeah,
maybe there will be blood.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. I was on board. I mean, I already did a show with Doa about Dune 2. And in fact, Doa and I also, by the time this will have been released, will have released a show about David Lynch's Dune from 1984, which I watched again recently. So there's been a lot of topic around Dune. I think Dune is beautifully shot, just like many of Denis Villeneuve's movies. If you have watched this in sequence with us, visually, you are going to see that this film does all of the things that his other films do well from a visual perspective. Use of color, absolutely amazing. You know, you look especially at Dune 2 with kind of like the bone white or the tan of the sand, and, you know, the way that the colors really pop against that, particularly the blue of the Fremen's eyes or the blue of the Water of Life. These are wonderful aspects. Where we see Villeneuve's use of color. The use of kind of the sunset orange is another one in this one that is very striking. The use of black with the white for the Harkonnens. We talked about it in Sicario, where he started using the black and white infrared cameras. Comes back here on Gidi Prime, looks fucking amazing. And I think the vibes of this movie, the music by Hans Zimmer, like the the visuals, the realization of the Dune world, this is all excellent. Unfortunately, in terms of plot, it does get a little bit muddied and bogged down in ways that his other films, his original films, I will say, do not, because he has to have all of this extra baggage that he's carrying with him, and that produces a mixed result. And also he changes characters, which, if you know the Dune book, is like annoying, but also even in the context of the second film, where if we were purely to evaluate it on its own merits, like the changes to Chani's character are weird and they don't even really work in their own context, which I'm sure we'll get to. And it just feels like he nailed the visuals, he nailed the world, but a lot of this is just kind of overstuffed. And also, you know, there's some great casting choices here, but if you guys watch those other movies, he is able to draw out some immensely good performances from actors. Hugh Jackman, maybe Hugh Jackman's best performance ever. Jake Gyllenhaal from Prisoners, mega. Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin in Sicario, so good. And the performances from the actors are much more uneven in this one. We're not going to do a summary of this, guys. Fuck it. You've probably seen it. We're just going to get into it. So where do you guys want to start?
Oh, by the way, also, even though this is actually the most impossible one to go, spoilers, like, I'm going to just reference things from books that the movies haven't even been made from yet. So if you can't handle that, you shit out of luck. I wouldn't watch the whole video, because it's impossible to only talk about Dune if we're going to talk about the characters, inferences to, like, what he might do in the sequel, all that. So to me, unfortunately, you basically do have to know what's going to happen in the third and fourth book. So if you don't, tough shit, go read them.
Right. And part of the reason why Dune 1 is unsatisfying is because they do a very bad job of setting up Paul's relationships with certain characters like Duncan Idaho. And if you don't have that relationship, it makes shit that happens later with like the Duncan Golas like really weird. And you know, so if you know Dune, you're kind of like looking at the first film and saying, well, we actually kind of needed this exposition. And we needed these relationships to be strong, because if they're not, the emotional resonance of what happens later is guaranteed to be less, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, the first thing just to say right off the bat is part 2 is better than part 1. When I rewatched the first part today, because I'd recently watched part 2, I watched that last week, I was actively bored on the rewatch. I was actively bored. I was irritated in places. I thought the lead performances, actually, it was very hard to separate them from the like, oh, we're the current teeny heartthrob actors in Hollywood, and I don't think their performances were particularly good. Both Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, I thought, were both like, you know, whatever. And I didn't like fucking Jason Bottomless Mimosas being fucking Duncan Idaho right from the get-go. Yeah, like that's not Duncan's character at all, actually, from the books. I mean, Duncan, a lot of characters are done dirty in these adaptations. But I mean, if you're a fan of the books, like, it's unforgivable what they did to Duncan Idaho. Like, I mean, for real, because ultimately, if you've read the original 6 books or whatever, you know, effectively, he's the protagonist. He's the through road, because it projects so far into the future. And he's constantly brought back from these things called Golas that
he's cloned, basically.
Yeah, cloned, essentially. Yeah. But with all of his memories intact, right? And so you know, so anyway, it's very hard to I really bounced off it. I really did. And there was like little moments where I really appreciated the performance, like Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Harkonnen, I think.
Javier Bardem is great as Stilgar.
In part 2, yeah.
Rebecca Ferguson is great as Jessica, I think.
I think he has so much more to do in part 2. He's excellent. I don't want to say he carries the film, but I think without him, part 2 would have just been on a par with part 1. He's good in part 1 as well, obviously. There's just less of him.
Right.
Or it feels that way anyway, because of the pacing of the film, which is ultimately the problem, that it is a film that, compared to the timelines of the book, is so rapidly paced that it should be impossible for it to be boring, and yet it is, or at least I found it to be on the rewatch. I just sat there for ages. 2 things right out the gate I don't like, and then I'll throw it over to Duncan, because he's really the resident Dune expert here. I hated this score by Hans Zimmer. I didn't even realize it was him the first time I watched it, and then when it sort of came up at the end in the credits, I was like, huh. Because it is a bad score, in my opinion. I am sick and tired of Western movies with desert settings doing that. Like fucking over the top bull. Yeah, every time. Like there's the sun's rising. Like fucking enough's enough of that, please. Like stop. Like people are gonna really make fun of that like 10, 20 years from now or something. Like, because it's such a worn out trope at this point. And then the other thing is it did the unforgivable. Remember, this wasn't necessarily marketed as being a 2-part movie initially. They really played that down because the sequel hadn't been greenlit until late 2021 anyway.
Well, that's
right?
because it was released during the pandemic in 2021 and they couldn't be released in theaters, and so they had to see how it did because it was released directly to HBO Max.
Yep.
And
yeah,
so,
I think what he's referring to was like they actually did that gamble where if they'd have failed, there just never would be an end to the movie. And
Of course,
do
you want to know what it reminds me of, Duncan? Do you remember Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings cartoon?
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, Monty, this is one of the most famous ones ever. Before they did the Hollywood movies, they made an animated version that was very famous in the UK, and it's just the Fellowship of the Ring, right? The first part. And it's mega. Like, there's a cartoon, it's exactly what you want, like a 70s psychedelic, but they couldn't complete it after the first one. So everyone who's a British kid has seen this from our generation, and it just ends. And so until the movies came out, unless you read the books, you never even knew what happened to those characters.
They had to rewrite the end. So it ends with the Battle of Helm's Deep. Yep. Right, and then Gandalf throws his sword up into the air, and then they added a voiceover, and it's just John Hurt or someone going like, "And they did defeat Sauron at the Battle of Helm's Deep, and pushed back the orcs all the way to Mordor." So ends the saga of Lord of the Rings, and you're like.
I know. It's
like as a child, I was triggered as fuck.
No, so I was actually like, where's the next one? No, they're like, no, there isn't one. They're like, no, but I want to know what else happens when it's not coming out. I said, what? Oh, that was like one of my first like experiences of being blue.
Yeah, it was that. It was that, and then obviously Evil Dead 2, I think, was the other one. I had to wait like 15 years to get Army of Darkness. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, look, they gambled, and when you consider the final scene of the first movie is Zendaya turning around to fucking Paul, going, "Your story is only just beginning," or "We're just getting started," or whatever the fuck it was. That is like garbage.
This is only the beginning.
Like, this is so shit.
By the way, that actually is so hackneyed the way it's done as well, isn't it? Like, that is like something bad out of like a TV show. I think what you're going to find is this is the beginning of a beautiful... She may as well have just said that to him. You know what I mean? Like, what is this? What is this?
It was... Well, so unfortunately for me, I put the first movie at like round about a 5, 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't that for me. Like,
well, the thing about the first movie is that if you have read the Dune book, you are expecting the world building. You're expecting, it's so much about, okay, this half of the book is we're going to Arrakis. Here are all the relationships that are important within House Atreides. Here's the family relationships that are important because it sets the emotional foundation for the entire book series. And like we said, you may not care about that because it was cool action and it was visually beautiful. Both of those things are true about the first movie, but it's just really hard if you know what's coming next and you realize that by doing it this way, you are basically robbing from the future if they keep making these movies. Because you just don't have the framework for things to be emotionally resonant later on. Oscar Isaac is kind of there. We complained, Richard complained on previous episodes about the overexposure of Oscar Isaac, who is a good actor, but he's just like everywhere. So just like Christopher Walken in Dune 2, it's just like he feels really like conspicuously out of place in this film because you've seen too much of him. So he doesn't really blend into the role, in my opinion.
You know the irony, Monty? I'll tell you the best piece of casting immediately. He should be Duncan Idaho, you fucking morons. That's the most appropriate person in the film to play the character of Duncan Idaho, if you actually know anything about that character. And because he's a mega actor, you could have then brought him back in the later movies. So instead, you literally, because you are, by the way, I didn't care what anyone thinks. One of the worst things about this film is that, and this is one of the rare times I've done what Richard does, I've actually gone and read what the director was trying to do. Tell you one of the most disappointing things right out the gate. This motherfucker was literally on some culture war shit while making this film. There's two angles that are obvious. One overtly from what he said, and then two implied by what he did to all the characters, right? One is overtly, he totally admits that just like Frank Herbert, and by the way, I have this thing where I do believe in the death of the author. The second you publish it, it isn't yours anymore, mate. My interaction with it is my interaction with it. You don't get to tell me, you don't get to enjoy that way. It's no, listen, mate, the second I bought the book, I decide what it says. So he did just like Frank Herbert did with his foreword years later to Dune, decide to tell you, hey, but don't enjoy the parts that I don't think you should enjoy, though. And it's actually bad to have messiahs and leaders and everything magical is bad. And so don't enjoy it. Whatever you do, don't enjoy it. And I'll tell you what, that fucking kills these two movies dead. Because the whole premise, if you think about it, and this is where even Frank Herbert was lost in the sauce. Because if you don't know, he's a bit of sort of like a fucking hippie in some ways. And he was massively affected at the end of the series by the death of his wife. So he actually did. He thought he was empowering women. But what he did is, first of all, he took everything about the masculine hero's journey, which, if you don't know, guys, is almost a psychological archetype of what it means to go from being a boy to being a man. It's actually like an essential component of society. Now, it is even baked into it, called a myth. It is not supposed to be something that really happened or will happen. It is archetypal. It is like a metaphor for what life and the journey of experience could be. He took that, and just like Frank Herbert, the books themselves and these two films constantly bash you over the head that you're not allowed to enjoy any of that, and that if you do, you're wrong, and that you're supposed to be 24/7 on some media literacy tip of but I'm intelligent though, so I know why that would be bad. Well, the reason why that wrecks the movie and cuts the legs out is because actually what was brilliant about the book is it didn't have any of that shit in. So if you never read the version that had his foreword, you did read the first book and go, what a brilliant self-contained hero's journey. Then the second one, you're like, how are they going to continue this though? Hasn't he lived happily ever after now? And it's like, holy fuck, this is getting complicated a bit weird. And then the other books just take it all different directions. Well, instead, it's like from second one of entering the strip club, someone just going, she doesn't like you, she's just doing it for money. She's just she's like a fucking kid at home. She's not even, in fact, she's actually disgusted by it. Well, can I just get the fucking lap dance first? Can I worry about that later? I'm not trying to fucking marry her, am I? So that's already what kills me. And then I do think if you look at the casting choices and which characters they diminished, this movie series is like, what fucking Prisoners was about a war on God. This is just a war on masculinity, this fucking two-part series. Every great male character is made shitter, all their best lines taken out. Sometimes they're even gender swapped for, again, no reason other than to be woke. It doesn't improve the film. And then at the end, the message of the two films for real is don't let your girlfriend get in a huff while you're trying to save the world with galactic jihad. Fucking hell. I mean, I'll give you some pure banter right now, because I have a thing on my Discord where I don't even allow morons to be on my Discord unless they're harmless, right? If they actually openly go, I'm just a moron, I'll go, you're okay, actually. Leave him be. Let that idiot dribble on the window. But if they actually try and defend themselves and argue, I kick them out my Discord, right? So one of the things I had to do is we made so much fun of this guy on my Discord, because he's like sort of a fucking super normie, right? And so he's only seen these films. He doesn't even know Dune the series. And he thought a cool take that I would appreciate is he goes, yeah, well, you know what? It was kind of based, though, that at the end of the second film, he doesn't even fucking end up with that Zendaya Chani, does he? He's just got that straight fire Florence Pugh that he's going to be fucking. And I said, you've actually inadvertently created the worst take ever on Dune if you know anything about the series. None of what you just said is true. But here's the sad thing, though, Monty. I actually had to realize, as stupid as he is, if you had only seen the films, that would be your conclusion at the end of the second film. That would actually be what you would think. There's only two ways at the end of the second movie you come out of that cinema if you haven't read the book. You either think, one, at the end, it's like, fuck the Zendaya. I guess Chani's just a prick, right? Or you just go, Yay, go boss! She is riding a sandworm. Like, mate, what is that even Dune at that point in time? It's like some weird Universal Studios Dune roller coaster. I want the movie.
I think this is like really reasonable, and like I think Chani's character and the way they wrote her is like the biggest problem with Dune 2. And I'm not here to advocate and say like, okay, they had to portray Chani's character the exact same way. But the problem is that what they do doesn't even make sense in the context of the movies. So just to explain, Chani is a character, but Chani is the daughter of Liet Kynes. Liet Kynes is the person who's overseeing the transition appointed by the Emperor.
It's a black woman in this first film.
Yes. Yes. So Liet Kynes, they gender swapped into a woman in this film. Now, Liet Kynes is an off-worlder who is Chani's father. Okay. And this is important because Chani is also she's half Fremen, half off-worlder, grew up with the Fremen. So she actually is a bridge for Paul, the off-worlder, to enter into Fremen society, right? That's actually kind of important. And they could have made Liet Kynes Chani's mother, but they didn't. They just got rid of her. And Liet Kynes was an ecologist who was supposed to be overseeing the change from Atreides to Harkonnen. So that I don't even really understand the premise behind gender swapping the character, because 2/3 of the main characters in this movie are already women in Jessica and Chani. Period. You have two extremely strong female leads already.
They don't do anything with the character, compared to the other movies, the miniseries, the books. They don't do anything interesting with the character, and it has probably the most ludicrous death scene across both movies. In that, when she's stabbed in the desert and she rolls down the sand, it immediately starts with the music. Not even a second to take it in.
All right,
and she's rolling down the sand.
So that was obviously a weird choice. Okay, so we just agree. Liet Kynes has nothing to do with Chani within this adaptation.
Character that was ruined. This is the thing about it. If you were what the books have that the movies lack, in a word, is texture, and it's because they have all these little characters that, because often the way Frank Herbert writes the book is you don't just get dialogue, but you get their thoughts.
Which comes out in the David Lynch film, because there's internal monologue stuff.
Yeah, everyone's just internal monologuing the whole time, and it's a mess. But in the books, you have access to their internal monologue, so you understand what the characters are thinking about each other, even when their relationships aren't necessarily informed by that information. You get it, and this is why it's often been referred to as an unfilmable book, which I don't necessarily subscribe to. It's just that to get that text. If you can't do Lynchian internal monologue presented as voiceover, and you want to do what Villeneuve does in the film, which is just ignore it all, right? Well, that's not satisfactory for either. But over time, in a TV series, you can learn about motivations from actions. You can add scenes, you can add dialogue, you can have them talking to themselves while drinking a glass of wine in lieu of an internal monologue. There are things you can do. And this is what was done as an adaptation very well in Game of Thrones, right up until they shit the bed and jumped the shark all at once. So, I mean, again, the problem with the movie in a nutshell just is it lacks all that texture. Characters are very one note. And for a book this complex, that's a cardinal sin.
Yeah, and this could have been, a mini series. Probably Villeneuve didn't want to direct a TV series. But anyway, so I want to, before we get into all of that.
Already is one. You don't need him to.
That's true.
It already exists.
Let's get back to the Chani point, because I don't want to lose sight of that. So basically, it matters that they changed Liet Kynes because it changed the character of Chani within the texture of these books. But the thing is, you guys would never know this if you had just watched the film, but Chani is just very loyal to Paul in the books. And I do think that Chani's character is not very well developed in the original novel. But the problem is that so they try and set up this like anti-Messiah arc with Chani in the second film. And I think it's fine to have some of that there. But the problem is it's weird that it's coming from Chani because Chani is supposed to be in love with Paul. And she just like kind of just sabotages him. And even her own internal actions don't make sense. So she simultaneously doesn't want or wants Paul to go to the South with her, but knows if he goes to the South, he's going to activate the rest of the Fremen's belief in him. Doesn't make any sense.
I'm moving everyone to the south.
I'll stay behind and cover your retreat.
What are you talking about?
Chani, I can't go with you. You know why?
He's afraid of the fundamentalists. And he should be.
It makes no sense within the core context of this film. And by the end, it just feels bad because in the book, Chani knows that Paul has to do his duty and marry Irulan for power, basically, to legitimize his claim to the throne, the imperial throne. But in this one, you know, she just kind of storms off at the end, and the end of the movie becomes about her in a very weird way. Like, literally, the first thing you get is Paul says, I'm going to take your hand, and then immediate shot onto Chani's face. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, why is this about her?
I'll take the hand of your daughter. She will remain safe, and we will rule together over the Empire.
Do you want to know where they really fucked up? And this is why this ending, again, it could have all been avoided if you just remained faithful to the text. Like, I mean, so at this point, by Dune 2, they have a kid that dies, right? But Paul also adopted the wife.
Richard means in Messiah, by the way. Obviously, this is Dune Part 2, but he means in the second book. Exactly,
in the second book. Sorry, my bad. But in this one, by this point of Dune 2, the movie, the guy that he killed in the duel, well, he takes his wife.
Yes. They don't explain that part either, which is another annoying thing.
Right. Yeah. So he already had a consort that Chani was totally fine with. Right. So, and when he marries Princess Irulan in the books, she goes, yeah, of course, this is necessary for world peace. This is kind of what we were fighting for in a way. It's totally okay. You know, and she is totally accepting of that relationship as a necessary evil, essentially.
Well, it's just
she has a lot more depth as a person.
Yeah, but it's like it's weird in the films because it makes the relationship with Paul feel very terrible because earlier in the films, I think there are some okay tender moments in Dune 2 with Paul and Chani, but by the end, she seems to really hate him.
Yes, yeah.
Can I tell you why? Because the year the film came out in was 2023, Monty. The guy I like called Denis Villeneuve. I noticed all his movies are straight fire until a magical year called 2016, when my industry turned to shit too. So guess what? Some wanker who's an art student, whatever, from Montreal, surprisingly, he's crowbarring all woke shit into everything now and fucking ruining it and watering it down. Because this movie comes off like he's trying to tell everyone in the cinema, not the story of Dune, but like, hey, women out there, you can do everything a man can and even better than them, and don't listen to your husbands. And you know what? God, that's probably all fake too. Imagine everyone trying to control you with an idea like religion, as I'm doing right now with my religion of being woke. But that would be fucked up, wouldn't it? And it's like, that's actually the worst thing about the way this film is made. Well, it doesn't tell the story of Dune. It doesn't even tell his interpretation of the story of Dune. It tells you like some fucked up version of what he wants people to believe, which is like, is that even art? Well, you know what I mean? Like, to me, art's expression. It's not like critique, like, well, whatever.
It also glosses over one of the more interesting ideas that could have been present in these films, which is basically, you know, the Bene Gesserit have been installing these beliefs, but are they fake if they come true? Right? Are they fake if they come true? It couldn't have all been staged, right? And there's a really interesting question about the nature of prophecy that is being asked but never answered.
Well, again, they butcher the Bene Gesserit in this as well. I mean, that's the irony. If you wanted to go with like a strong, you know, girl boss message, I mean, what better than the fact that Bene Gesserit have got all these, across the
They're running the
universe. Yeah, they've got
The
all
way
these
the
like
last book
families on
is
the
they're
hook.
just like the most important people at the end of the last book. In fact, if people don't know, as I just alluded to, Frank Herbert was the proto-feminist. Like the end of Dune, if you don't know, by the way, by the time you get to the 6th book, is the Bene Gesserits. This is how implausible it is. Are also like the ultimate physical assassins as well, who can like in an instant dart across a room and chop your throat with like a karate kick and like lightning hypersonic speed because they've trained every muscle of their body with like Bindu Prada fucking meditation levels techniques plus spice plus so the joke is that's why actually it's the other way around. Like the story of this book is there are women who can all collectively get to a hyper psychic level and be way more advanced than you in espionage, assassination, by the way, they sexually control nearly everyone in this universe, but you get the occasional man. This is literally how a bell curve works, if people don't know. You get the occasion. This is how the difference between men and women. You get the occasional man, though, who can be so exceptional, he can exceed them in even that area, though. And what this movie does from movie 1 is say, but not the part with the man, though. Just only the part about the women being dope. It's like,
well,
what's the point of the film, then?
They don't even use the term, like, they didn't say Kwisatz Haderach at any point, right? Across
no, they
both
did.
movies.
They did. They did.
Did they?
Yep. But they don't explain what it is.
Right. Okay. Because I because of this Lisan Al Gaib thing that they pushed more. Like the way I remember it from the books, and Duncan could correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember that being the phrase that was like it was barely explained and not used all that much because that was a specific Fremen interpretation. But the important was of the Kwisatz Haderach was what the Bene Gesserit was essentially trying to create, or rather Jessica was trying to create, or what they were worried about. And so the way that felt like kind of interchanged across both movies, I found it very weird. I don't know how you felt about that, Duncan.
I mean, first of all, one thing that is intolerable is when the mainstream catches on to something you like and everyone ruins it. So, like, you know how everyone's done that thing in League of Legends and in CS where they go, Alexi Al-Gaib, like, what does that even mean, right? So what you're saying is you take a phrase from a film and then you just put someone's name there. So basically, instead of the Lion King, it's the Alexi King. That doesn't even make any sense anymore. Like, what you could do is you could say Alexi's like Simba in the Lion King of Counter-Strike, but to just go like Trophy Al-Gaib, it doesn't mean anything. What it means is you haven't even wasted 1 second thinking what that concept means to make it funny, which is ironic because that's kind of what Denis Villeneuve did with Dune. So I do think that part is cancer because basically what I can tell you that comes from writing, Richard, because what he's done there is that clever technique that every good comic book writer figures out a long time ago, which is if you're writing Superman, every second sentence can't be, and then Superman did this, and then Superman went in. What you do is you go, Superman went here, then the last son of Krypton entered the fortress. Finally, like the guy who stands for the red, white, and blue of the USA and truth, justice, and honor, he came before his enemy. You do that so it keeps like a bit of variety and it keeps you stimulated and it keeps reminding you of different aspects of the character, right? Because one of the things about this movie that it also fails in is this is why I can tell the guy writing it, I would assume is an atheist, because it comes across as this is what I hate about modern filmmakers. He's now crossed over from being an interesting artist to Steven Spielberg category, because Steven Spielberg got to a point where every film was going to be a huge box office movie and everyone was going to watch it. And so he doesn't allow you any interpretation room. Every character he presents you, he tells you if they're the good guy, the bad guy, if what they did is right, if what they did is wrong. You're never allowed at any point in Schindler's List, in any of his films after let's say the late 70s, to ever have an interpretation of a Spielberg movie. You know exactly that Tom Cruise is the good guy. You know exactly that this person here is the bad. Every character is like that. That's what this feels like. It feels like I'm never even allowed to understand, is there any nuance to this story? Because actually what you're talking about here with the Lisan Al-Gaib part is, it isn't one or the other. It isn't what this stupid series tells you, that like it was all just a lie and a trick and it was not real. It's like, well, as Richard just pointed out, even the people who you're seeing implanted fake prophecies, so the people who are, by the way, the Bene Gesserit, here's part the movie doesn't even explain. They are psychic. They're psychic and have access to all the female members in their audience, so they can make predictions. It's why they already have predicted what the Kwisatz Haderach, which to them is their real prophecy of a superhuman entity. So it is all real. The point is just, like, he could have made a really interesting point there, actually, a la Jesus, about the idea of, like, what if the prophet was real or enlightened, but it was how people who were the modern day leaders took it and interpreted it. it and used it for that. That would be a really interesting point. The actual message I think people take at the end of this part 2 is, it was all fake, and he wasn't really like some sort of a god or messiah. In fact, there aren't gods, messiahs, or heroes.
I also feel the weight of the prophecy.
It's not a prophecy. It's a story that you keep telling, but it's not their story, it's yours. What your people did to this world is heartbreaking.
We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope!
And in fact, it's even implied, even though I don't know how you could watch the film and think this, because they have that whole thing like, he shouldn't go to the south, it'll do all this. I always say this, what's my other option? Can anyone let me know? What was the third option that I'm not aware of? So there was the option of do nothing. If you do nothing, by the way, you've already implied that they live under the fucking space Nazis. So I'm supposed to just chill there. Well, I wouldn't want to overthrow the space Nazis, then I might do something wrong. Like, that's the most dog shit fucking, like, Sophie's Choice I've ever seen. And then what is the third option, by the way? Well, I guess the third option is Dune 3 should just be Chani, the God Emperor, right? And then she just runs everything like a proper girl boss.
Well, I think too, like when you talk about the prophecy and you look at what actually happens here, right? You can't simultaneously have a message that messiahs are bad and this messiah is fake, but have him fulfill all of the acts of that prophecy, which, by the way, we know couldn't have been known because even the Bene Gesserit don't think Paul is the Kwisatz Haderach. They don't.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, that the other rod for the back that they make in the movie is, I thought they pretty heavily sanitized Jessica actually as a character as well. I always thought there was like an interesting ambiguity around her and whether or not she was kind of actually an antagonist in a way.
Well, it's always implied, isn't it, that like if you're Bene Gesserit in some way, you're always Bene Gesserit, and like even though she's like his mother, there's some level on which she has to be slightly loyal to the Bene. Yeah, there's always like a double agent component. That's, by the way, that Game of Thrones element would have been great here, especially with the actress, but they just wasted it.
Yeah, completely. And you know, like think about it, right? So first of all, she went against Bene Gesserit, and again, forgive me if this is the books and not the movies, if in any of these details, but she went against Bene Gesserit protocol because she loved Leto so much and gave him a son. So
they do mention that in the films, but it's not. It's a kind of a throwaway.
Yeah, right. So, and that's a huge fucking deal because it's only through the vector of there being a male Bene Gesserit child that you can even have the Kwisatz Haderach, who is going to be like this terrifying.
Right. And basically, she jumped a generation because in the books they know they're getting close after 100 generations of breeding people to the Kwisatz Haderach.
They actually say that they had one that was like a failed one in a past generation, so that's why they sort of know that the program's working eventually. Basically,
the idea here, by the way, is to take so in the books, the idea, if I recall correctly, is to take what should have been, Paul should have been a girl, and that girl should have been bred with a member of House Harkonnen, and they were supposed to have the son that was the Kwisatz Haderach. So basically,
but through because of the bloodlines, it would have meant they would have been able to control the Kwisatz Haderach or something. It was something like that, right?
No,
it was something like
also
that.
Part of the series that people miss. The joke of the series is this: it's not that Paul alone has power in there. Everyone who has power in this universe attempts to get ultimate control and are all hoisted on their own petard to a man, including the God Emperor later. So the way that the Bene Gesserit show their hubris is because they have controlled all these bloodlines. And as I say, you later find out in other books, they are not only super assassin ninjas and psychic, but literally, unless you are later on Duncan Idaho in one of his Gola forms, they even eventually have like hyper-sexualized control people who call it honors matres, where when they have sex with you, it like controls your mind essentially. You become sort of like a slave to them. So their premise of that's like a hyper-extended version of the Bene Gesserit myth, because their notion was like, when we have the Kwisatz Haderach under our control, but the whole premise of the Kwisatz Haderach, as you can see, is their psychic power can only go to a certain point, and he's the only person who can go beyond that. Well, obviously the one who goes beyond that is then by definition impossible to control. So it was always a futile quest in some degree, because you were always going to be wrecked by the fact that this person would have foresight and ability to like see their way around things that you wouldn't, which is kind of the whole thing. Like the thing about Dune, why it's a well-written series, is if you are very cynical, it is every single book just like, right, take the bad guys from this one, then there's people who are like 10 times more powerful, and there's like a new power level. It's like Dragon Ball Z, but it's way better written basically. So essentially it is always about upping the power power levels and power creep, and then like changing the dynamics. So every time you think one group's on top, magically, like, you know, out of nowhere, there has to come the other one that counters them hard, and then they're suddenly in an interesting tension. And so I think that part was also completely missed here, because they also imply, like I say, that like either it's just they're making up that there's a Kwisatz Haderach, or like, yeah, if they, because there's another reason why it doesn't make any sense to imply Paul should be like tortured about what he's going to do. So their plan, if it had worked, their best case scenario was, let's have the space Nazis be the Kwisatz Haderach, and then hopefully we can control them. Like, again, we're supposed to go, but it's terrible what he did, though. It's like, what is the fucking alternative? Because, by the way, I want to go back on the Chani thing, actually. Here's why it's even more ridiculous. First of all, I've never given a flying fuck since I was about 12 about adaptations being faithful. The only reason I would ever point out it isn't faithful is when you did a much shitter job interpreting it and just made a worse film or a worse piece of art. If you do something good with it, I don't even care if it's different. But my problem in this one is, it actually seems like you've just made things worse. And it's even worse if I can infer it's for some cynical political reason in 2024, not even some artistic reason. Like, oh, well, I thought it'd be more interesting to do this. So the reason why the Chani character to me is absurd is, remember, the metaphor of who the Fremen are is literally like nomadic people in like Afghanistan or the Middle East when the Soviets were there during the period of like to control oil, etc. If you don't understand, that's the metaphor. It's like the Middle East, oil is fucking spice, which control is the transportation lubricant of the universe, as it were. And then it's about there's a desert people there that you can't just battle because that's kind of their territory. So you've got to like do some kind. You either have to keep them at bay, you have to make
Arabia it.
So if you take that premise, right, then you have to understand that obviously the Fremen culture is seeped in like Muslim fucking aspects, right? So imagine this for a second. Chani is a feminist girl boss in a quasi-Muslim desert religious people. And what are her qualities? She's a girl boss who don't need no man, and also won't allow him to have multiple wives, and this is probably the maddest part of all, and she isn't particularly religious, right? How would that ever exist in even a conceptual framework? If you don't understand, guys, the reason why a lot of those desert religions are so incredibly harsh is because that's what life in the desert is like. And if you don't all follow an incredibly strict code, as the Fremen show you, you literally die.
Or
the
you
only
get
way
other
you
people
survive in incredibly harsh setting like this. By the way, obviously Europeans, we had our own version with the incredibly cold north with all sparse things, and winter when there's no crops. Like, that's why our people were hardened in certain ways. If you don't have that aspect, like, essentially the character she plays could only exist as like, you know, an upper middle class fucking daughter of a tech CEO in fucking San Francisco or something. But I'm supposed to believe she's like a prominent member of this religious cult where she's not religious and doesn't believe any of the religion. In fact, is somehow anti-religion. Like, by the way, this is why I say this is a shit movie, because these aren't even great interpretations today, but they're going to age so badly in 20 years when you watch
also,
this film back.
Here, Thorin. Okay, so let's do a thought experiment. If you did make this character that way, then surely an interesting thing to do was, once they get to the South and she's like disrupting their religious conferences and everybody believes that Paul is the Lisan al-Gaib and he is the Messiah, shouldn't she be in like actual physical danger in that situation? There's never any ramifications for her breaking the structure that the Fremen operate under, right?
I think in general the movie suffers from all the main characters having plot armor. Honestly,
Yeah.
I like even in the great action set piece, which is one of the stellar parts of Dune 2, where they're taking down the Harkonnen spice mining operations and being shot at with the for some reason I think they have repurposed ornithopters. It looked like whatever. That was like a really good action sequence, but in no point did I ever believe that they were going to die. And it's like another reason why the changes to the movie that they've made really remove a lot of like that kind of tension ultimately. You know, there's no that doesn't like do you think for 1 second when Paul drinks the fucking water of life, he ain't just gonna be back one scene later? Like, he was on his deathbed for like 5 fucking minutes, dudes. Like, it's like, guys, this is fucked up. You're breaking any kind of tension I could feel about this. It's like, but by the point Dune 2 starts, you already know he just is the Kwisatz Haderach. He is Lisan Al-Gaib. He's gonna be. He's fine. He's gonna win. Like, it's just there really isn't any tension or conflict. They didn't have the whole plot about is Jessica really working for the Harkonnens or not, which Baron Harkonnen claims in the books.
And also the fact that she is, obviously this is jumping forward, but her Harkonnen lineage matters because Baron Harkonnen possesses her daughter later on. He comes back,
that reveal
guys.
in the movies. That reveal in the movies. Yeah, somehow Baron Harkonnen returns. I believe is the line from Star Wars. But anyway, like that reveal means nothing within the context of Dune 2. The reveal that Jessica's descended from Harkonnens, because they cut out the entire part about Baron Harkonnen going, "She's a spy. She will work for me." Blah blah blah. And like, really, she was completely distrusted. It was only Leto trusted her implicitly. Everyone in the Atreides camp was all like super fucking, she's Bene Gesserit, you can't trust them, you know. They
even make all the people that Paul likes, like the Gurney Halleck and all those people have to have an element where they're always mistrusting her and they think she was part of it.
I remember, it's been a while. Don't they even try to kill Jessica? Doesn't Gurney try to kill Jessica?
That's the first thing he does when in like Messiah, basically, when they come back. Yes.
Yeah.
Gurney's got reasons, because remember, this is the other thing that they do well actually in the book and actually the TV series. They understand that you've got to keep that intrigue part alive. Again, otherwise it becomes like the Steven Spielberg film I'm talking about. You can't know from second one who's good and who's bad, and everyone's legit. Like, isn't one of the best things about films where they have multifaceted fucking motivations and different alliances, and so at different times, different ones are flexed. By the way, I also think that's another perfect example of where this movie shows you and tells you something must be true implicitly, but then overtly tells you it isn't true. Don't worry about it, ignore it. So think how mental this is. After Jessica, and eventually Paul later, does the scene where they take the water of life, which you're told can just make you straight lose your mind and you just potentially die and never return, they then quickly explain, like, "Oh, don't worry though, that's just like a Bene Gesserit technique where you transmute poison."
It's no miracle. My mother was trained to do that. Poison transmutation is something advanced Bene Gesserit can do. Not the Mahdi.
But it also was real, you fucking moron. Like, yes, you didn't just transmute poison, though, did you? You literally had an experience where you connected with all of your fucking, like, past entities and had a vision. By the way, that's an example where this movie utterly fails, Monty. Everyone's going to tell me this guy's a genius visionary director. I'm calling cap on it straight away. Here's why. Because after doing those past reviews where Richard told me the budgets, this guy's a hack. What he is he's a guy where when he had no money, he had to, I would guess probably by his photographer and cinematographers at this point in time, he had to find workarounds where he would show you an amazing CGI thing, but from far away. Or he'd show you it for a second. When he can just show you on screen like an Ubisoft game, a giant 3D rendered thing, it's fucking whack. Mate, when he shows you a giant spaceship in this, it doesn't look super cool. It looks like, am I watching like a demo for a new graphics card? What is this shit? Like, and also the reason why I bring that angle up is, if he was a visionary director, he wasted the entire money shot of the series, which is, you know, when Paul takes the water of life, bro, that is your license to do anything incredible on screen you ever want to do right there. Honestly, you could even, by the way, if you're a genius, are you ready for what you could have done? That would have been the best scene in cinema history. You can technically show any male character in human history on screen for however long you want right now. You could show him flashing back to like Napoleon or whoever's supposed to be in his lineage, right? Because they imply like all like ancient history goes back. Like, you could have shown so many, like, you could have had like an altered fucking altered states type psychedelic sequence. You could have had a 2001 Infinity Gates. He didn't do any of that. Instead, when they take the waters of life, all of them, it's just sort of like, God, put that. I'm back now. That was nothing. Don't worry about all that.
And as usual, Thorin, it was about Chani and not about him.
Yep.
You know, it was, and here's the thing, Thorin. You can pick apart the David Lynch film. That scene in the David Lynch film was maybe the best part of the David Lynch film, because he actually tries to do something with Paul, like having some sort of expanded consciousness in the way that they film it, where he's like lying on the floor and there's all the space behind him.
This is the place they cannot look. Traveling without moving. Now. of the world.
At least they try, but they don't ever explain that. And, you know, to your point, Thorin, at the beginning, where this is about a mythological journey, the part about the water of life is a shamanic initiation inherently. Shamanic initiations are the death of the ego, or a metaphorical death, or even sometimes a physical death. And, you know, women can be shamans too. Like the Reverend Mother thing is a typical shamanic initiation, right? And you get the same thing with Paul, but it never really explains. He's like, I can see the possible futures now, and there's a narrow path to our victory. And I'm like, that's it? That's all we're getting out of this? Like, because again, this becomes important later because his abilities as the Kwisatz Haderach are literally what the entirety of the rest of the books are about.
Yeah.
So you have to explain it.
Well, I mean, this is the thing as well. We know that a third movie is coming, just because of the casting of what's her face, Azalia.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, her. Yeah, I can never remember her name. She's just
By the way,
in everything
if
right
you want
now.
to talk about people who are overexposed, she isn't even that good in the first place, mate. She has to be in everything.
Yeah. This is what I mean.
Furiosa coming out soon too. So
yeah, I know. It's like every single there are some people that are just in every single conceivable franchise right now, and it's like I don't know why. I'm from a time when the actors were really reluctant to get into these franchises because they didn't want to be typecast and overexposed and lose some of their mystique. You know, think about it. You had to fucking beat Harrison Ford over the head to do the fucking whack Star Wars and the whack Indiana Jones movies. You know what I mean? Like he's clearly just. And by the way, phoning that shit in. Like, dude, even his when he turns up in fucking Blade Runner 2049, a good movie. He's just in a t-shirt. He just doesn't care. He just it's like Harrison Ford just cannot be asked. Like, and that's fair enough. I get that. Because once you're associated with cape shit, it's like very hard. Like even Robert Downey Jr. is talking about fucking coming back. One of the legendary exits of all time from a franchise movie. Fantastically talented actor. And he's already talking about coming back to the Marvel franchises, but dropping hints in the media saying, "Oh, never say never." It's like, guys, just please stop being in every single franchise. But anyway, so we know the third one's coming, and we know Denis Villeneuve is going to be the one who directs it, because these have been like box office smashes. And it's like, yeah, how are you going to pick up the threads of these stories? How are you going to do it? At what expense? And while I enjoyed Dune Part 2, there's so much that I can't understand how they're going to put the jigsaw back together. I really can't. For the third movie, we're going to have a kid in there, right? So, but Chani is pissed off with Paul. So when are they getting back together to have a child? Right? So how does that even work?
Yeah, exactly. Like the arc of the character because of
character's toast already. Here's why. One of the most insanely satisfying moments in the series is actually in the second book that a lot of people don't know, which is at the end of the second book, what you find is that the face dancer, who the character they've already started to introduce at the end, the face dancers hold the Teliaxu, the people who can do all the cloning and the Golas. The reason they did the Duncan Idaho Gola and have him last second try to like kill the baby or whatever of Duncan Idaho, of Paul Atreides, is because what they're trying to show him is we can bring back people who were in your life and they're really going to be like them. So don't worry if Chani dies, basically, or your kids, because if you just do a deal with us and make us sort of like, you know, partners to the Empire, we'll bring back all your loved ones. And it's a profound moment because basically Paul Atreides, in order to not be enslaved by them, has to sort of say, no, I'm just going to essentially do the human route of like letting people who would die and just let them be gone. And one of the most important parts of Chani's loyalty is she actually realizes, because he is prescient and does know what's going to happen, he actually had to literally allow his child to be killed. It's a later child, the second that comes along and becomes the god emperor. His first kid gets killed at the end of the second book. He has to actually let it happen. Literally, it's like during like an attack on like a Fremen siege or something while he's away. He has to let that happen, and she has to know that since he's prescient, he could have chosen a lot of different paths, like fucking Doctor Strange for all you stupid Zoomer kids. And the point is, he chose the one that, because that's the message. Because that's the message of Dune in itself, is that sometimes what overall is the best path might, that's why I said it's actually a brilliant life message about life itself, isn't it? It's like sometimes it might involve you undertaking like a massive amount of suffering for the greater good of sometimes even yourself, but your family lineage, right? It's actually quite a heroic ideal again. Well, how are you going to possibly set that up if she hasn't even fucking married him and she's going mental? And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
at the end, she's like storming off to go ride a set. Like, mate, that
Yeah,
whole
but
thing is
also-
so badly done. so
Also,
badly
think
done.
about this, right? Like, so Alia Atreides is
This is
like
Paul's sister, by the way, who is. All
yeah.
right, hold on. Let me set this
she's
up.
in utero for
She's
the whole
in
of the
utero
fucking
in
film.
the book and in the David Lynch film. She is like a small child who is very wise. Honestly, that was one of the best choices I think they made, was because it filmed very badly in the David Lynch version. So
yeah, but I want to know how you overcome that challenge in with modern film techniques. I get it, like you can't rely on a 2-year-old fucking child actor to fucking seem like a super, like, because literally
It's an adult in a
Alia
child's
knows
body.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously
And
has
more.
like not just an adult. Yeah, it's an adult and more. Yeah, exactly. But like, you can't have a child actor, especially a
I'll tell you what I would
2-year-old
do. I'll give you my fix.
Yeah, go
It's
on,
obvious
go on.
to me. Think about the tech of things like Gollum in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there you
What
go,
you do
yeah.
is take that tech and you actually have an old woman, like the fucking one who was like that Tyrell woman in fucking Game of Thrones, play the character acting, but then you make it look like she's really young, and you have the weird juxtaposition that she's like wise beyond her years and can scheme a little bit.
Yep.
She's a bit Bene Gesserit, but then she looks like a kid. I agree, Richard, again. If this guy's this brilliant visionary director, why is he fucking pissing up the wall every time he has a chance to do something brilliant and visionary?
He swerved this challenge 100%. And then what it tells me about the future movies, Dune Messiah and Children of Dune and whatever else is going to come next, is that we're just going to jump forward in time to Anya Taylor-Joy. There's not going to be Alia the child, which is like ridiculous. Like the whole point of, again, showing how unnerving and otherworldly the Bene Gesserit is, a super intelligent child who actually, by the way, kills Baron Harkonnen. Spoiler from the books, but it was the kid that fucking did it, and it was significant. It was the kid that fucking did it. By the way,
you see that in the David Lynch film, by the way. You see that in the David Lynch film.
Well, and then doesn't he pop like a fucking balloon and fart his way out?
It is fucking terrible. Let's be clear. It is really bad. But yes, that is what happens.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this though. I agree that the Denis Villeneuve movies are better than the Lynch attempt. But let me tell you, I'm probably never gonna rewatch these. Like I'm being serious now. Like I never need to see these again. This is not a Star Wars style feel good franchise that you're gonna show to your kids or anything like that. It's actually just a pretty visually spectacular, but ultimately plot-wise, run-of-the-mill sci-fi movie. Whereas Star Wars is like, it's like something you put on, you show it to your kids. It was like a cultural phenomenon. This ain't that. And
that's why I think the cultural stuff is what kills it, mate. Because the difference is what will make Star Wars and Lord of the Rings endure forever is the archetypal mythological level of the film that it works on. Since your whole movie was like a fucking art student going, but that's all nonsense in a postmodern context. That's what the film becomes. That's what you'll remember. Is like, it was all about how there aren't messiahs.
So, famously, George Lucas, and this is like my kind of literary and, scholarly wheelhouse, is things like archetypal stories. This is literally what I majored in college, right? Famously, George Lucas followed Joseph Campbell's books to create the hero's journey. So he was actually creating a modern hero's journey using Joseph Campbell's research and the tools that Joseph Campbell provided. In this film, it's taking the hero's journey and then it's subverting it with modern political expectations and modern behavioral expectations. But the thing about that is it now becomes a product of the time instead of something eternal. Right?
I'll give you another example of why I also think like it's actually going to get worse and worse if they make more of these films with the same director and the same cast. Like I'll give you another example of terrible casting. So it's not just the Duncan Idaho one, because to be fair, for that to get really good, you're probably never going to get to those films anyway. But the one that's the worst one is easily Baron Harkonnen. And you're all going to go, what are you talking about? Right? Stellan Skarsgård's a really good actor. In this, he's given almost nothing to work with. He is just a brutish psychopath in the first film. In the second one, they hint that he's got a little bit of charisma, because otherwise there's no way to create a relationship between him and the Baron Fade Rother guy. You have to sort of make them have some level on which they're not just total psychopaths, right? So you do a little bit there. But the reason why that doesn't work at all is how could you ever make Children of Dune now? Because the best part about Children of Dune, like Richard said, is he did it like a joke, but it's actually not at all a problem. It's brilliant in Children of Dune when they bring back Baron Harkonnen as this possessed character, because he brought back one of the characters that you think is dead and gone, which, by the way, that's actually one of the things that Frank Herbert is mega at. It's not that he has a cynical way to do it. Like, using the Gaulers, he finds a very clever way to bring back characters and put them into a new setting with a new set of enemies in a different time period. And so when they bring back Baron Harkonnen, because you now have him inside someone's mind who out to the outer world like a heroic character, you actually get this fantastic one. This is actually one of the best things about the sci-fi series in 2003 of Children of Dune, which combines Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, is the character they have, who's a British actor who plays Baron Harkonnen, plays him like a fucking actual one out of the book, where he is like a scheming Macbeth / Shakespearean like villain character, basically, and his whole thing is more like scheming and getting away with it. And like, that's why, for example, one of the mega scenes at the end of Children of Dune is just before Ali is sort of like killed, he basically says something like, he like fully possesses her and then says to Jessica Atreides, like, I've got it now, you Bene Gesserit bitch. And that's like the only moment he's ever sort of come fully to the surface. And that was his attempt at his revenge over the Atreides. So it also perfectly weaves in the sort of Game of Thrones element of like, you never fully get your revenge on someone, because if there's the seeds of them out there, they're going to get the revenge on you later. It's all cyclical, right? You can't do any of that with this character. Like, what would you even do if the character, as played by Stellan Skarsgård, of Baron Harkonnen, was possessing someone? Just like, fucking kill people, like, mate. It's why I always said, I also think one of the most cynical pieces of fucking filmmaking is, so you brought that film out with a bald guy who's just an evil dictator taking over areas right at the time of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Like, miss me with your fucking hackneyed, cynical shit, Denis Villeneuve. Can you just make art, mate? Can you make something that in 5 years won't age really terribly? Like, isn't a great film the opposite? Like, we make fun of Roger Ebert and the rest, but one thing I don't blame them for is, you never really can know how epic a movie is the first 2 years it came out. You know what I mean? It's more like over time, it almost like ripples in a pond, reverberates and gets greater and greater and greater its impact. And then eventually, 40 years later, every kid's going, they thought Blade Runner wasn't good. It's like, to be fair, if you hadn't seen any other films and you just saw it on the cinema one day, you wouldn't really get it all necessarily, you know, in that time period. Maybe it was ahead of its time. Maybe it was too prescient. The difference is, I think this film will age terribly in reverse. Because like I say, maybe like, I even think half the bad performances get away with it just because of the actor, even though the actor can't do much with it. It's actually the worst thing about this film in general, is that I actually do think, I would explain it like this. I actually think, like Richard said, it's that fuck all happens or is said, but then what you normally do, that could be brilliant, by the way. To make a minimalist Dune would be genius if instead you went the route of like a Tarkovsky film, and it was like every actor better just be like giving an incredible nuance with even like a facial movement or a slow shot onto someone, or like he says like some sort of symbolic thing with like something you're passing around or do some ritual you're under. If Denis Villeneuve's mission was, I'm going to do Dune, but I'm not going to tell you it, I'm going to show you it. Now that would be brilliant. Again, if he was a visionary director, what a great way to show a modern audience that doesn't like to read a very complex story, but through inference and sort of hinting at things. Instead, it's like he doesn't give you exposition. He removes a lot of the interesting parts of the story, and then you just don't get to know why that all happens. There's like no explanation for almost anything important in this film.
No, and there's not even an explanation of the world. Like, they delete the entire. I've read interviews where they delete. You know, he talks about how they didn't have time to do the Mentat stuff and the Bene Gesserit stuff at the same time. But as a result, they take Thufir's entire arc out of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is
imagine making Dune without Mentats being a big deal, by the way.
Mentats got really fucking done dirty in this.
Right. And like, I think Mentats are super interesting, because then you have to talk about the Butlerian Jihad and like why there aren't computers and what Mentats actually do. But like Thufir and Peter de Vries are just like not in this movie. Right? They just get...
Yeah. Would have been quite timely as well, given, you know, like we're criticizing him for anchoring... Yeah, exactly. With where the criticisms around AI and people talking about AI right now. Again, you could have done some really interesting parallels if you need to anchor your movie to the present day in some way. But no, they swerved that. And Mentat's barely mentioned at all. It's like, you don't even know why that cunt rolls his eyes up into his head at the start to do a math problem, right?
Yeah.
Like... Ridiculous.
Anyway,
By the way, obviously, there's not unlimited time to do this episode, so let's just do some of the stuff that's actually good. Like, I'll read off some of the stuff I actually did.
Okay.
So, first of all, even though it itself is a backhanded compliment, because in the second film they undo this. To be fair, the book itself also did that, so I actually think you could have improved it. Right, in the first film, obviously everything to do with the Sardaukar is fucking epic. Like, that's probably some of the best shit of the first. The planet that they're on, the idea of their religion and the way they're loaded onto the ship. Like, that's all fucking dope. Even the way they take over, like the Atreides palace, etc. Now, the downside of that is in the second movie, they're treated like the worst level 1 henchman of like a fucking beat 'em up game from the 80s on a Mega Drive or something. You just kick the shit out of to go to the next level. But to be fair, that is the flaw of Frank Herbert's writing style, actually. He also does do that. Like, if you don't know in the books, he actually completely betrays those characters because he makes them the ultimate warriors, like I say. But then if you're the ultimate warrior beyond them, in his universe, you're never slightly better. You just completely beat whoever's below you. So if you don't know, towards the end of the second books, he's even implying shit that like they're getting their asses handed to them by like little kids and old women Fremen. I'm like, outskirts out. And it's like, why have you done that, mate? Because you actually made them sick in the first book. Again, you sort of made them like some fucked up like Spartan warrior race, didn't you? But
That's what they were going to be. They were going to be the final boss. Like, you could never fuck with the Emperor. Yeah.
So I thought that part was fabulous, even though, they sort of undid that and made them just easy to wreck in the second film. Obviously, at the beginning, like the opening scene of the second film with like the Harkonnens with that like orange anti-grav scene where they go, that's fucking fantastic. That is a great visual scene. Yeah, very well done. Like I say, I actually think the black and white scenes on Gady Prime are fantastic too.
Wonderful.
This is one of those rare films, by the way, where I also think my director's cut would probably just cut half the film and make it way better. Like, I think if you made this like an hour, 10 minutes, it'd be a fucking banger. I'd actually rather even, if you do it like the way he did it, that people leave and just go, I wish there was more, but there isn't, and you just leave them wanting more. He like shows me a bunch, like, it's why that interview triggers me. I didn't have time to do that because I was too busy wasting my time fucking all the rest of the story. Oh, cheers, thanks, mate. That's like in Game of Thrones. The reason why everyone hated the last season of Game of Thrones is because at the end you went, oh, I didn't have time to do all that epic shit. You were like, well, then why did I have like 4 seasons of a guy going, a girl has no face, but she has a name and no face. So does she have a name when she has a face? And I tell us like 5 years of that, and at the end you're like, oh, sorry, I can't do it in the final battle. She just kills him with a knife. Like, bro, you're fired. If I was the project manager, you're just pack your shit up. I've changed the codes already. Get the fuck out of my office. So that's already insane. I actually think one of the underused actresses is that Leia Seydoux. She did a fucking banger job. The Lady Fenring. She was fucking. She was probably the best Bene Gesserit in the fucking series. And then lastly, I would say I also thought that. What was the other thing that was actually good? I do think every now and then they would tap in for a brief moment to a bit of the heroic shit. So like, I am the Duke of yours. Like that, those would have like a feeling for a moment, but because the rest of the movie was almost like you're supposed to feel bad for liking that, you never get to properly have that rousing moment.
I am Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis. Erudidina Heshidani, Nelisana Gai, Rui Dimenaruk. Like, I'll tell you what it failed in this film. Even though it hinted that it was going to have elements like films like Braveheart, Gladiator, it never lets you have that heroic soaring moment though, because it has to keep bashing you over the head with some postmodern guilt of like, but it'd be wrong to have power. It'd be wrong to save your family. It's wrong to be religious. It's like, oh, fucking hell. This is like some struggle session version of Dune. Can I just watch Dune? And what I don't get, I want to actually ask you guys this for real, is if I didn't know who made this film, I would never guess it was Denis Villeneuve. I would never ever guess it in a million years.
I would guess it for the
actually
visuals.
thought this is so soulless as a film. Every one of his other films had amazing performances and like central parts that were like the heart of the film. What's the heart of this film?
Well, so I agree that, not really a lot. It's not anchored or tethered to a stellar performance or even a
complex
story
themes.
Right?
Yeah, basically,
exactly.
anytime it like tries to create a complex theme or like attack one, such as like what happens if there's people trying to have this prophecy, but also it's a real prophecy. Is the Messiah real? Is it not real? Like, what is the duty of this person who is the Messiah? He swerves out of that one immediately, right? And he's just like, Messiah bad. But he never actually answers the question of like, how could there be a Messiah if the prophecy was fake, but then he fulfills the prophecy? Like that, he just leaves it on the ground for you to look at, and there's no real interest or interpretation there. So it feels bad, right? There is no heart. There is no thematic heart of this film because there's no nuance and there's no.
There's this scene where they really fumble it, and it's in Dune 2, and it's where Timothée Chalamet is obviously talking about, like, he keeps having that recurring dream, that recurring vision, and it's like starving people all dying, and he talks about how, like, if he goes and does these
nowhere.
things, but yeah, billions of people are going to die throughout the galaxy, and I'm like, okay, we're finally going to talk about the golden path, are we? Like, what it's all about, what it's all for, how ultimately he is he's got good intentions, but he dooms all of these lives throughout the universe because of those good intentions, because he believes it's the only way to save humanity at great cost. No, we're not going to do any of that.
Well, it's also, Richard, it's even more ridiculous than that, because his whole reason to not go to the South is because he doesn't want that to happen. But
and then
do you
see
guys,
you, I'm off to the South.
Richard, do you remember what causes him to go to the South? When he says, I'm going to stay here, and they reply, well, then all of us are staying here too. So he's literally saying, I'm not going to do that because it might kill billions of people. But if these 200 people die, I'm going to go do it. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, you were willing to take these a few hundred people into battle multiple times, get them killed, killing the spice carriers, destroying the spice carriers.
Never even understood.
Like, it's fine now. Okay.
Yeah, just didn't understand that at all. And it's like, I'm sure, the whole point of the Golden Path is like so central, not to the first book essentially, but really to the series thematically as a whole.
It's the whole idea of the series.
It's like, why would you not expand on it? So I mean, I'm like Duncan in the sense that, first of all, to answer his question, I would have guessed this was a Denis Villeneuve movie because I think his visual signature is so strong.
I mean, if you look at the rest of the films and you look at his use of color and the way that he does this stuff, it's like very obviously a Villeneuve.
You know how
film.
you can spot a Nolan movie or you can spot a Fincher movie almost immediately just because they have these certain visual flourishes they use. I think Denis Villeneuve is definitely at that point, even though this is a much bigger movie than what he does.
And like his use of color in this, and the visuals are fucking awesome, and that's why people loved it. And I think he did a really good job. Like when you see the Thopter in Dune for the first time, you're like, that's exactly what I imagined. At least that's what I was like. That's exactly what I imagined from reading the books. Exactly. Like the Bene Gesserit costumes, fucking awesome. The Harkonnen visuals.
Costume design in this movie is great.
Fucking great.
Yeah.
Fremen, fucking awesome. Like they're all like
the still suits look good.
Oh, it's all great. Like that's why visually people like it's such an insane visual experience, I think, and he really nails it. Think about the shields. The shields in David Lynch's Dune are just blocks on people. They look terrible. It's embarrassingly bad. These shields are exactly what is described in the book, and they look fucking great.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. If I'd never read the books, I mean, ultimately, this isn't so much a review of the film, I guess, as ultimately it's three people who have read and really like the books critiquing
it is a review of the film because we're talking about how the logic isn't even internally consistent in the film.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us care about adaptations, as Thorin said earlier. I'm happy
I don't, but I know for a fact if I hadn't read the books, I would have a better opinion of these films. I will say that. I'll admit that. I'll be transparent about that. Because, it's like I know where it goes and I know where it was meant to go and I know about all the nuance that we have ultimately been denied in a movie that is simplified. And here's where I'll say the difference is. If you look at Peter Jackson's adaptation of Lord of the Rings, and you look at the changes they made there, like combining characters in some cases, leaving out certain storylines. There is, there isn't that weird bit with Tom Bombadil. I get it. I get why that's out, right? Like, they're good changes. Like, that's one of the best adaptations of a supposedly unfilmable book, like, of all time. They're modern classics, actually.
Yeah.
There's no, they might be sword and sorcery bullshit, but they are modern classics.
I agree.
There's no getting away from that. And yet, I watched Dune, and think about all of the moments in Lord of the Rings where, like, you get that little fucking man tear. You know what I mean? Think about, King Theoden, who we just lost recently, being brought back and fucking going out. And as he dies, he says, I can meet my ancestors with pride. You bow for no one, little man.
Yeah, but if just before he was about to ride out, one of the female characters, as the Siege of Helm's Deep's going on, goes, "Oh, a bit fucking patriarchal and misogynistic the way y'all are just trying to be our saviors. I don't need a fucking other white savior. Why can't we set up an anarchist free zone here in Helm's Deep?" Like, that's what Lord of the Rings would be like if Denis Villeneuve made it now, mate. And obviously Theoden would himself be played by fucking Zendaya. So,
so I mean, but that's the problem. That's the problem I have, is that basically there isn't even really a standout moment of dialogue or interplay that I remember fondly from these two movies.
Bro, is there even actually a cool, aside from maybe Atreides you fought well, is there even one cool line of dialogue in the whole two films?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Every great sci-fi fantasy movie has
chip and shatter.
That's the way they deliver is dog shit in this film.
Yeah.
It's terrible the way they deliver it in this film.
Yeah,
they say that in a way, like they even say at the end as though he's almost mocking the. Yeah, may your knife just chip. Yeah, may yours, lol.
Yeah.
Like,
what?
May thy knife chip and shatter.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
I mean, but think about even in the Lynch version, where it's like you have that guy who played Baron Harkonnen who's just physically disgusting in the film, and he's like, when he spits, and he's like on Jessica, he's like, I want to spit in your face just once, just a little bit of spittle, and that's obviously from the book, and it's like, fucking, that's great. Love that. That scene stays with you.
Iconic, yeah.
Yeah. But there's no dialogue, there's no scenes of dialogue where the characters are interplaying, where the acting threshold is so high or the dialogue is so memorable. It's just none of that there. It's like I said in the previous episode, when Josh Brolin comes back, Gurney Halleck's back. Gurney Halleck's a fucking boss in the books. Like, that's actually fucking legit when they meet up again. You're like, oh, fuck me. Yeah, real page turner moment. Like, you want to see what happens, what they've got to say to each other. In this, it's just like, oh, it's good to see you back. They go off onto a sand dune and have a chat, and then it just immediately goes to Zendaya going, yeah, he's dangerous. I don't trust this. Oh, come on, fucking hell, let him talk to his mate. what is this shit? So yeah, it's like, there's not a memorable piece of dialogue. There's not a memorable scene in terms of the acting being that high. Really, it doesn't get good. And just to add my thing that I liked about it, until Fade Routher turns up, he's that actor knocks it out the park. That character is the highlight of the movie. Yep. I'll say Javier Bardem is still just behind. But basically, Javier Bardem swings for the fences on this. He's fucking fantastic. Austin Butler or whatever his name is, who plays Fade Routher. Yeah, fucking, he's relishing every scene he's in. He's chewing the fucking scenery. Probably the best thing about the second film. And isn't that a real fucking sad indictment? Because at the end of the day, we've done this review and we're at the end-ish, and we haven't even talked about the absolute atrocity that is Christopher Walken as the Emperor. So there's so, unfortunately for me, like I say, if I could just turn my brain off and passively enjoy the scenery, this is a great movie. If I could remove the knowledge of the books from my brain and what was taken from us in this adaptation, I could probably bump up my rating by 1 point.
Why is the Emperor so pathetic? It just ruins the actual epic triumph of Paul Atreides at the end. And it's like, you don't even believe that he's the Emperor, because I like Christopher Walken, but the only thing I can see is fucking Christopher Walken. It takes me out of the movie.
Well, they fucked up with the casting in general. One major flaw this movie has, and I understand why. I don't know if the studio wanted this or if it was Villeneuve himself, but like I said, the ensemble cast kills this movie from the outset for me. Like I say, I'm super conscious immediately that Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya are they're teeny heartthrob actors that are just going to be in every movie that they want to sell to that demographic. Oscar Isaac, as I've said, I am sick of his fucking face. I like him as an actor. He also seems a really cool dude. He's in a fucking ska band or whatever. Guy seems like an absolute baller. Love to have a beer with him. You know what I mean? But stop acting. I just need a break from you, mate.
He's just overexposed. He's just overexposed. Right. It's just when you become overexposed, you become conspicuous, right? And it actually ruins suspension of disbelief. And when
Dave Bautista is in Guardians of the fucking Galaxy, one of the most lauded trilogies that came out of all of that Marvel cape shit. I don't need to see him in another sci-fi movie, guys. And he's terrible in this as well. He just shouts every scene he's in.
Yeah, I suggest you get some rest.
Rest! Everybody! Kill them all! Kill them all! Rest!
I mean, he's given nothing to do, to be fair.
Yeah.
The
Jason
writing on him is
Bottomless
bad.
Mimosas. He's again, he's a cool guy. He's seen like really likable people, like, you know, actually down to earth by celebrity, you know, standards. No problems with him whatsoever. But like Duncan Idaho is not Carl fucking Drogo, is he? For fuck's sake, please, like, please. So they completely like. This movie is meant to be drawing you into a world so far in the future that has so much tonal disconnect, because we're talking about feudalism's back, right? We're talking about medieval feudalism. We're talking about a time where computers are outlawed and AI is outlawed, and the only way you can do any computing is through humans. And space travel is only possible by people who sacrifice their entire lives and essentially absorb this fucking drug, so they become unbelievably prescient, but they lose their humanity in the way, and all of it's being manipulated by a bunch of psychic witch women in this secret shadowy cabal. This is like, these are all concepts from all over the place, from ancient times to super futuristic times, and they are combined into a very cohesive world. Frank Herbert did a fantastic job when he came up with all of this. It doesn't make sense to describe, but as you read it and learn the history and absorb yourself, it all makes sense in the books. And unfortunately, I am not drawn into this world with this. It looks beautiful, but the acting takes me out of it. The casting takes me out of it. The dialogue takes me out of it. The modern sensibilities takes me out of it. It's like a Dune tribute. It isn't Dune for me.
I would have said sixth form student gets $190 million to make his version of Dune. That's what it feels like. Because it's like I say, so much of it's like this guy, just write an essay, get out your system, dickhead. Don't make the two massive films and pretend you're doing it. Because what this actually highlights that I despise, one of the biggest irritating things is that you can't just watch the film, because everything's about everyone you know going, have you seen this? Oh my God, it's coming out. It's amazing, isn't it? It's brilliant. And the worst thing is actually the discourse around the film, because one of the worst things is, like Richard says, if you've never seen any of the films or read the books, you're just going to go in fresh, right? And so you're going to come out and you're going to be the person in the world at the moment I don't ever want to hear from, which is the Johnny-come-lately nobody teenager who watches like 2 years of football and then goes, this fucking Haaland's the greatest player, hands down. And if you don't think so, you know nothing about football. It's like, bro, why not just say he's the best one you've seen in the 2 years you watched? But they never do that. They always go, it's the best ever. So the worst thing about this film easily is all the people who don't know the book and don't know much about film history, because it was an event movie, the most cursed fucking term of all time. It just became something that everyone agreed was going to be amazing before they saw it. That when they saw it, part of why you say it's amazing is because you've waited so long and you know all your friends want to see it and you've seen it. So by the way, by telling people it's brilliant, you're bragging that you've seen something brilliant they haven't seen yet and that you're on board with the discourse and it's your double plus good and you get your fucking Scouts badge for watching Dune finally on the cinema. And did you watch it in an IMAX? Because that's like having an iPhone. Oh my God. You're like part of a special, you're almost like the Kwisatz Haderach of films. You watched it on an IMAX. Oh my God. And then the worst thing is, this is where I know Denis Villeneuve has jumped the fucking shark. He's finally entered the territory that Christopher Nolan, Tarantino, Spielberg, Scorsese all entered, which is they're brilliant directors, but once you hit that mainstream threshold, you can be the guy, like I always say, you can be the guy with a reputation as an early riser who just sleeps till noon. You never have to make another good film in your life. Every film you make is a genius work of art, and the second someone sees it, it's just as good as everything he's ever done, and it's the best thing on cinema. And so the worst thing is, to even penetrate to the film, or whether it's like the book, you have to cut through this massive jungle of bullshit from people who were just going to clap like a seal because of the name on the screen and people going, and that's it. And then we're going to clap no matter what. Like, it didn't matter what was on screen after that, you know. And then sadly, they're going to then conflate, even though it's not the case, that Here's the sad thing. The other type of person I also despise is the nerd loser, who I used to be, but thankfully I'm no longer, who is just living to see something from a comic book or a book that he read as a boy put onto a screen, and then he's going to have that moment like that loser guy watched that Star Wars trailer where he's like weeping, like, I can't believe I saw Rorschach say, you're not trapped in it. Mate, that would have been cool when I was 14. When I'm a 40-year-old man, like I'm past that. Like I want to just see a good film at this point in time. So I'm not even that guy either. It's not like I needed it to be like the book. My problem is it wasn't like the book in many, many worse ways, which I think most importantly even actually invalidate the internal logic of this film. That's the stupidest part about the changes. And as I said before, I actually think I don't even believe there's going to be anything beyond Dune Messiah, because I think he has completely painted himself into a corner and checkmated himself on all the casting decisions and what he's done with the important parts of the story. I mean, by the way, even that part, as you said earlier, if you wanted some, this is why it's never about actually female characters, guys. This series is full of female characters and revenges and everything. Think about it, right? By actually having Leia be a child and kill fucking Baron Harkonnen, who tried to wipe her entire family out, and do it and say, this is the Atreides Gom Jabbar. That is a fucking god-tier moment for a female character. He deleted that from the film so that instead he could crowbar non-female characters into female characters rather into non-female character roles and just ruin the plot. Like, brilliant. What do you want me to do? Give you a round of applause for making the story worse, mate? Like, I actually genuinely don't know. Like, I'll go the other way though. I also think this. If Dune didn't exist and this was an original creation and this is what Denis Villeneuve created, it also wouldn't be an epic movie, by the way. You just think this is like just a not very interesting sci-fi story. Like, it's sort of like a shit Star Wars. I actually think it's genuinely what people would say. Meanwhile, the irony of Dune is this, guys. If someone out there thinks actual Star Wars is brilliant writing, it isn't. It's great because it's one of the first like giant space opera type movies that they go ham on with special effects. The irony is I would have said Dune is the better Star Wars, but he's managed to invert that dynamic. So well done, mate. You actually made, I mean, this is almost, but it's weird. I'll tell you the ultimate diss of all time. I actually think some of the Star Wars prequels are better than these. There you go, motherfucker. And I don't even like those films.
I disagree with that take, but yeah, I love it. All right, guys. That'll do it. Probably some unpopular opinions because of the genuinely well received of Dune, which is, I agree. Look, we had a great conversation here. Maybe that gives you guys some stuff to think about. It's a shame because we literally did love all of the rest of the Villeneuve movies that we watched here. But I think if you guys followed along, you will actually agree that the earlier films were much better as works of art than what we ended up with Dune. And I literally watched 2 days ago Dune 2 in the theater again, and it was drastically worse the second time I saw it, because I wasn't so dazzled by the visuals. The rewatchability is actually garbage. So if you guys have seen it one time, I mean, I'm not going to tell you to like watch something that's worse on a second time, but just be aware that it doesn't hold up even a couple weeks later as well as you think it does.
Notice that's actually a key point to end this series on. That's why these films clearly suck and are far and away the worst Denis Villeneuve movies. Because the reason all the rewatches were mega for the other movies is because there is always something lurking behind the scene or inferred at or like subtly. Like I said on the Prisoners one, dude, I don't even think you've watched Prisoners if you've only watched it once, because you won't know how all those things weren't red herrings. They all really were clues that built into a giant maze-like structure. There's none of that here. When you rewatch it, you'll find there's less than you even thought, because as Monty pointed out ages ago, I actually think what initially made people hype these films as good is if they already knew the plot of Dune, you just inserted in your brain, oh, it doesn't matter, they didn't explain it. In fact, the joke is I'll bet loads of nerds would just turn their girlfriend, actually that Kwisatz Haderach is like a guy. And well, the problem with that is you're not supposed to have that guy next to you in a film, though. You know, you're supposed to be able to enjoy it on its own, aren't you? So unfortunately, I think every other Denis Villeneuve film gets better with a rewatch. This gets worse.
Yeah, I literally had to explain not only to my wife, but to my parents about the story of Dune, because it only makes sense. And I realized in the first film that it was actually just independently a worse movie because I was filling in all the blanks with my knowledge of Dune. And it just holds together much worse.
Monty's ever filled his wife with blanks. Boom, boom.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will end this episode, and we will be on next week to Paul Thomas Anderson. Hard 8 will be the first film that we are going to be watching. I think we'll be less critical at the end of that arc.
Yeah, it's a good film.
This one. No, not at the end of the whole arc, too.
Oh, right. That's a mega film.
Yeah, because we are doing Hard 8, Magnolia, The Master, and then The Phantom Thread. So good times, more directors. We will see you guys for the next arc.